Hey guys, so I recorded a video last night, and unfortunately my camera died 3/4 of the way through, so I didn't get to do the ending, and I didn't realize that the camera had shut off until I was completely done, so I wanted to kind of apologize for that. I am still going to release the video just because I think the bracelet came out fabulous, and I'm going to do like almost like an intro to the video here and show you what we made. So I made this gorgeous bracelet using the 8mm pink beads from the curated My Summer Garden collection. And I used 11O seed beads, 8O seed beads in gold, and then 6mm crystal Rosemontees. And so it fits nicely around my wrist. It probably could have been a little bit longer, but I wanted it tight. I didn't want it, drooping off of a wrist. I wanted it to be a nice tight bracelet, and it's very pretty. And it matches my pink shirt today. So anyways, I'm going to put the rest of the video out, and I will probably do another one similar to this using some different beads just to show you how I finished up. I'm going to tell you right now, I used clear suplex thread, so it's a little stretchy, but it was a real pain in the butt because I don't actually have any needles that can fit the suplex and then go through seed beads. So I literally strung it with the suplex, and I struggled. I had done my sample, which was this, which I show you in the beginning, using just regular beading thread, and while it came out nice, I could see threads, and that bothered me. So I decided I was going to do this in clear, so that even if there's spacing in between the beads, or you can look here where the thread should be going into the bead, it's clear, so it's really hard to see. And I like that look. I think it's more finished, more polished. So anyways, without further ado, I am going to show you my the video, and then I am going to be recording in the next day or so, and I'm going to quickly show you because this is going to be upcoming. I'm using something from the Desert Sands collection, and I'm going to make a component like this, and I'll show you how I did it. So it's two-sided, so I could use this side, or I could flip it over and use this side. Either way, they both look fabulous. I'm going to show you how to make this, and then we're going to make a pair of earrings with these coming up in another video. So anyways, here's this bracelet, my Summer Garden, gorgeous, beautiful, and I'm just going to close this here if I can get my fingers around it. There we go. Yeah, it makes a really nice bracelet, kind of chunky, goes together nice. It's not adjustable only because it's beaded. But anyways, I'm going to show you how to make this, and sorry that I cut off the end. Hopefully I won't have that problem with my camera again. Anyways, I'll see you in a minute. Hi guys, welcome back to Bunny Brick Designs. So today we're going to be doing something with the curated bead box. So I've got all my beads off to the side. And in the last curated, we did this bracelet with the peanut beads. And so I wanted to continue doing some unique items with you guys. And so I started playing with some of my stash beads along with these pretty pink beads from the My Summer Garden. And I came up with a design, and so this is just my sample I was practicing with. I will have to take these apart and reuse that beads, but we're going to make a pretty bracelet. And so I was playing and designing and figuring out how many beads I need, what size beads I need, what looks best. So we are going to make that. And I was going to use white Fireline, but what I decided I'm going to use is my Supplemax, just because I don't need a needle that way, and it's clear thread. So I am going to take, probably just to make this, I'm going to do at least 2 wingspans, maybe a little longer, 2.5 wingspans. So it's going to be tough to work with, but we're going to be starting and working it from both ends to start this. So what you're going to need is you're going to need probably all of the pink beads from the curated bead box if you're going to do this along with me. You're also going to need some 80 gold and some 11 gold. You're also going to need some what they call rose montees or crystals with holes in them. So this one's got holes on each side for that. And these are, I think they are, 5.5, 6 millimeter. Yeah, they're 6 millimeter rose montees. So you're going to need some of those. And I don't know how many because I haven't done the full bracelet. So, besides throwing beads all over the floor, and I'm going to need that bead. Come back here. So we're going to need probably all of them, to make the bracelet. So I'm just going to pull a few out here. And so what I've done is I've got my thread here, and you can't see it against the, so there, it's against my phone case. You can see a little bit of the thread. You're not going to see it because it's clear, and that is actually really good for doing this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start out. I'm going to hold on to one side. I'm going to pick up 4 beads. So it's going to be a pink, a 80 gold, a pink, an 80 gold, a pink, an 80 gold. So I'm going to get 4 of these on. And so that's 3. Oops. Those 2 are stuck together. We'll get those apart in a minute. A pink and an 80 gold. And then I am going to hold my 2 ends together. Now this is going to be quite long, just because you're going to have all of these together. And now I'm going to take the side that's the gold, and I'm going to find my end here. And you see how the thread is coming out of this side? I'm just going to go in through this. And using the Supplemax, the plastic or the clear wire, the clear thread, it tightens up nicely, but you're also not going to see it. Now, you also have to make sure, because I just did that, and when I did that, my threads are no longer even. I need to have even threads. So I'm going to pull on the shorter one and just try to get it even. Once you get it started and you get them even, you'll be better off. So you can't see me on camera here, but what I'm doing is I'm just pulling along and seeing how close they are, and see, so this one fell off. So I'm going to take the shorter one, and this is my shorter one. And so all I'm doing is letting it loosen up, and I'm pulling on the shorter one until I get it more even. See if maybe putting them together again. So there we go. So now that I've got it even, I'm going to hold it nice and tight. And then I'm just going to take my thread and I'm going to pass it back through, just because I want to get at least 2 passes through all my beads. So I'm just passing it back through to the opposite side. And it may not be perfectly even, but we should have plenty of thread. So now I'm going to pass this one back through. And now this is going to loosen up. It is going to loosen up here and there until you've gotten at least a couple of sets on. And so now I'm just going to pull that nice and tight. Make sure I'm not too far out of alignment with my thread ends, just because I want to make sure I have plenty and I'm not too far out, so we're good. All right, so now we're going to continue on and just pick up on one thread. I'm going to pick up a gold, a pink, and a gold. And then on the other thread, I'm going to do the same thing. A gold, a pink, and a gold. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up my last pink and I'm going to pass the thread through one side, and then I'm going to go through the opposite side. And I'm just going to take both ends and I'm just going to pull. And I'm just going to keep pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling until they're together. Now I'm going to continue doing that. I'm only going to do one loop going forward. So this one I did 2 just to get that tightened. So I'm going to continue on with this until I have enough that it will go around my wrist. So I'm going to pause you. I'm going to do that. When I get done with that, we'll come back. I will show you the next step. So I will be right back. All right, guys. So I've strung up all the beads that I need, and I still have a few extra left, which is good. And I'm at roughly a little over 6 inches, probably would stretch 6.5, which will fit around my wrist and leave a little bit of a gap so that we can do our ends. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to string 3 beads on each side, because we're going to put our clasp on. And so I'm going to hold on to this end. I'm going to do 3 beads. On this side, and then 3 beads on this side. And we're going to see if 3 8/0s are enough to get around that bead. So what I'm looking for when I'm doing this is, can I be right up to that bead and then come together and see there's going to be a little bit of a space there. I think I'm going to add 1 more seed bead to each side and make it 4. And then that should be perfect. Because again, I want it to not show a lot of the wire or thread or whatever you're using. I wouldn't recommend wire, but I just lost my end with the bead on it, and I just lost my bead. Doing this without needles and with the Supplemax can be a pain. Especially because I've got enough thread here to do the embellishments. Now, I could have started out and done my ends on each side and just did this and then fastened off and then added some more Supplemax. But I didn't really want to do that. I wanted to, yeah, that will work. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a lobster claw and I am going to thread a lobster claw on both sides, and that's going to be my center point between these two beads. So I'm going to make sure that the claw is facing a direction down, or you need to make sure it's facing down because we are going to have a top and a bottom. If it was just this bracelet and we didn't have any top or bottom and it was just the plain bracelet, you know, the plain, and I just lost my end. Get back here. Hi, bunny. I got a bunny biting at my leg. Always when I'm filming. So, which is why I keep a bag of treats right next to the camera. All right, so now that I've gone through, I'm just going to find my ends because I just lost. Pick this up. Here, there's one end, and there's the other. All right, and I'm just going to pull on these ends until this gets all the way down to the end. So now I've got my lobster claw on, and I've got my beads. Now, at this point, and this is going to be the tricky part, we need to go back through those beads, those 4 beads, and I'm going to go back through the 4 and then back through that last bead. Well, if I can get through there. And it's loose right now. Don't worry, it's going to tighten up when we get there. I'm going to pull this fairly tight. And now I'm going to go back through those other 4. And this would be easier to see if I was using white thread or dark thread. So there we go. I'm just pulling on this a little tighter just so I could see where my beads are. And like I said, don't worry if it loosens up like this. It will tighten up when we are get through. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to start pulling and just pulling to tighten. And make sure you don't do that and get your Supplemax or your thread over something that's going to get hung up like that. Because see, that is, there we go. And just keep pulling until it's tight. Now that is going to give me my lobster claw, and so now I'm nice and tight. I've got my lobster claw on. That looks good. And I think I went through one too many beads here. I don't want to be coming out the gold, so you want to be coming out the pink. So I need to find, there we go, my end and be coming out the right bead. Now, I am just going to, I'm going to start my embellishment. So now, I need to make sure my lobster claw is facing down and I've got the front facing up. Now, to do my embellishment, I am going to go through, not this bead that's coming out of my, my clasp end. I'm going to go through this one gold bead here. So this bead right here. Sorry about the band-aid. And I'm just going to come out that bead. Oops. There we go. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. I'm going to get it going through that bead, coming out And hopefully I have enough thread to do this. So now we're going to be needing our 11-O's and our crystals. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out and we're going to pick up 3 11-O's. So there's 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go through my crystal. Make sure you don't come out. There's like a center hole here. When your thread goes through, make sure it goes all the way through. Otherwise, it's going to look really weird when you go to do your crisscrosses. And I'm going to pick up 3 more. Of the 11-O's. And now I'm going to go not through this bead, but this diagonal one on the other side. And I'm just going to pull my thread. And make sure it's nice and tight. And so now I've got my first one started. But I need to go back through that and support this because I don't want it just coming out the one side of the seed bead. So now I'm going to take my Supplemax and I'm going to go back up through those 3 beads. Back through the crystal. Oops. If I can get that 3rd bead on. And it's loosening up and that's fine. You may want a needle to do this. You may want to use regular thread and needle to do this if it would be easier for you, if you're not good at using Supplemax as a needle. This stuff can get kind of unwieldy at times. And so I'm going to go back through, and it's really hard to see. There we go. And then I'm going to go back through my 3 seed beads. Sorry if my fingers are in the way. And I'm just going to start pulling this tight. I'm going to get this other string out of the way here because he does not need to be in the way. So get him out. And I'm just going to start pulling on this guy until he's nice and tight. And make sure you don't wrap like I just did. I wrapped around everything. Oh, he's got to come out of there. Did I just do that backwards? I did. What did I do? I'm thinking I got caught. Yes? No, I got caught. There we go. There we go. And the first one, the first couple are going to be tricky until you get everything tightened up. It's just the way it is with Supplemax. All right, so now that I've done that, I'm going to go back through that first gold bead. And then I'm also going to pass this thread through to the next gold bead because we're done with this thread on this one embellishment. And there we go. So we have our first half of the embellishment. Now, making sure, so I'm gonna tighten everything up here just because it started to loosen up. So to tighten it up, you're just gonna pull on everything and give it a good tug. Now you could tie a knot up here somewhere, and I may do that. And this will stretch a little bit. So be careful. Supplemax does stretch. And I'm coming out the pink bead. I will get through that gold one. I'm going to pick up my 3 gold beads. So this is the way we're going to do the embellishment, the second part. So I'm going to pick up the 3 gold beads. So there's 2, there's 3. Now I'm going to pass through the crystal. And because it's tighter, you've got to be careful that you're not coming out the bottom. And see, that's coming out the bottom. Like I said, this might be better with a needle. Come on. There we go. And so we've gotten that there. And now I'm going to pick up on that thread 3 more beads and pass through. Now this last time going through the second time is going to be tricky because there's not a lot of room left in that crystal. Now you can opt to not do the second pass. But that, you know, that is also going to give you, so like if I were to end it there, it would be fine, but, and I may do that just because I don't want to try to go through that crystal, although it's not going to be as tight. Just keeping that in mind. If you don't go through the second time, it won't be as sturdy or as tight. And you might have like that where you can see gaps in the beads. And so I am going to go through. And like I said, the first one's going to be tricky just because it's still loose and the beads underneath are loosening up. Come on. I'm getting stuck on the seed bead. I can see it. There's definitely a lot of... All right, I'm going to have to find a needle. Unfortunately, there's not enough room, and I don't even know if I'm going to be able to pass this needle through that. Yeah, there's not enough. Not enough room. Let's see, is that going to have enough room to go through there? No. Yeah, so I'm stuck. I'm not going to be able to go through this a 4th time. So I'm going to forego the tightening because it's already too full. So I'm going to tighten this up just by pulling on everything to retighten up my Supplemax just because I loosened it up in trying to fight. And so this is going to be tricky, having to re-pull, retighten, re-pull, retighten. So try not to do that too much. There we go. And now, since I am close to coming out of the same bead, I am going to go through that gold one. I'm going to tie a knot just to get this to be tighter and stay. So I'm just going to come through this gold bead, as if I can get that. There we go. And now they're both coming out of the same bead. So I'm just going to take and tie a knot just to keep it from going anywhere at this point. And then I am still really wanting to try to get that. I'd really like to do a double. So now I am going to go back through this pink one with one of my threads because we're going to be coming out the other side. And then this guy is going to I'm going to see if I can go back through. I don't know which one's longer. This guy is longer. So now that I'm coming out of these beads, I'm going to go into my golds. So now I've got threads on both sides. I'm only going to do the one pass, I think, because I think the Supplemax is too thick for the holes in the crystals to do twice. So I'm going to show you the one pass. If I was using regular beading thread, I would definitely go through twice. But this stuff is quite thick and strong, so I don't really need to reinforce. So now I'm going to come out my gold beads. And now that I got the first one done, I'm going to show you a little bit of a quicker method to do this. So I'm going to pick up my 3 seed beads on one. And seeing that we're not going back through a second time, this will go quicker. Oops. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, now that I've got my gold seed beads, I'm going to pass my needle or my thread through one. Making sure it's going through both of them. And then I'm going through this side, coming out this side. I'm going to take this thread and go through this side and come out that side. And I'm just going to pull them, because now when I pull that and I get it tight, I've gotten half of my embellishment built. Now all I have to do is pick up 3 more seed beads and go through the next gold bead, seeing that we're not going to do the doubling up. And I've done this before on other bracelets where I don't double up. Especially with the Supplemax, it's fine. So I got 3 there. Oops. Two and 3. Okay. Now we're just going to pull these. And so now doing this, you've got to be careful. You've got to make sure you know which way your beads are going. So this one is the right and this one is my left. So I'm going to take the left thread and go down through this left bead. And then I am going to go through the center pink bead. And come out the other side. Oops. And I'm going to pull that nice and tight. Trying not to get things twisted up like I just did. Just because I pulled a little too hard and now everything is all mangled. And so, there we go. There we go. All right. There we go. So now I can take this last one and go through the gold bead. And again, it's still loose. We're not done tightening the embellishment, so don't worry if it looks all out of shape. And there we go. I'm coming through the pink bead. If you can do it all in one, great. If you can't, make sure you don't get your threads underneath your embellishment. And then I'm just going to pull that nice and tight. So there we go. So that is a quick way to do it if you're not doing the 2 passes. All right, so now we've got that. I'm going to continue on. I'm going to get to the end, then I'm going to show you how we're going to do this end. And then I'm going to show you how we're going to add the final embellishments, which are going to be these little bicones on the sides. So I'm going to pause you. I'm going to continue on, and I will be right back. All right, guys, so I am done stringing up my crystals. Very, very pretty. And I'm just going to show you real quick, if you've got some loose ones, which some of mine are loose, because we didn't do doubles, you can just pull on the crystal just a little bit. It will tighten up as you go down, and then it'll loosen up. Like so, each respective set of crystals will get looser until you get to the end and just give it a nice good pull. Now I'm coming out my pink bead because now we're going to put our other end on. And so our other end is just going to be, we're going to do, I think I'm going to do 3, we'll do 5, 4, 5 on each side. And then we're going to pick up a seed bead. And we're going to pick up an 8/0 seed bead, and we're going to put both threads going in the same direction through that bead. So this is going to form a little triangle on this side. Just like, well, here, just like that. Right? So it's just going to form a little triangle. And I'm holding this tight, but what this is going to be is it's going to hold our loop that we're going to clasp onto. So now what I'm going to do, and it doesn't matter which side you pick them up on, I'm going to pick up 5, 6, 7, I think 7 of these smaller beads. There's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm going to see how that looks if I were to form a little loop with it. I just need a little loop. And so I may need 9. So I'm going to do 9. Okay. And so that should give me what I need. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the opposite thread and I'm going to go through the opposite direction on these beads. And then we're going to pull them really nice and tight. Sometimes you can get through multiples by doing that. If I had a needle, it would be a little bit easier if I was just doing regular thread. And I don't want to go back through that 8/0 just yet. All right, so now I can literally just start pulling on this. And it's going to be a little bit wonky just because you're pulling it tight. I'm going to go back through that 8/0 with both threads. If I can get the thread through. There's one. And it's okay if it's a little loose at this point, because again, we're going to tighten it. We are going to definitely tighten it up, and we're going to knot it, and then we're going to do our final embellishments and then knot it again. And I would recommend on your final knot, that you glue. All right, so now we've got our beads in, and I'm just going to hold on to them and just continue pulling and pulling and pulling until we're nice and tight. And so that's going to form a nice loop, as you can see there. And I'm just going to pull, 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 and just keep pulling until I feel like it's good and tight. And then I'm going to go back through the seed beads on the sides, the 5 seed beads on the side, before I do my knot, because I want to make sure this is nice and tight. So there's 4. If I can get through that 5th one. There we go. And I'm going to pull so that that side's nice and tight. And don't worry if it loosens up like it just did. We are going to just continue to pull and get it nice and tight. If you have to go back through the big 8/0, 10/0 bead to do it, that's also fine too. Ooh, if I can even see to get in there. There's 2. There we go. Whoops. Wrong direction. All right, so now we're still loose. We're still kind of loose. So what I'm going to do to tighten this up is I'm going to pass through my big seed, or my big bead again. That is, if I can get through there. There's an awful lot of thread in that bead. All right, fine. We're going to pull. All right, rather than go through this bead right here because I've got too many threads, I'm going to go through this gold one. If I can get in there. And I'm going to pass it through the gold and then through this side seed bead or pearl bead, pink bead, whatever you want to call it, stone. Just because that way I can tighten up, because we are really tight in that bottom bead there. Where'd my thread go? It's coming out not where I want it to come out. So at this late stage, because we are so tight, it is trying to pass through all of the beads, and I don't want it to pass through all of them. So I'm going to go through the gold bead, the single gold bead, and then I'm going to try to pass through the side bead there. Because what I don't want to do is go through more than just the pink bead. There we go. But it was trying to go through, coming out like 3 or 4 beads down. Because our thread path is pretty solid at this point. All right, so I am going to start tightening and tightening and tightening. And I'm tightening just by pulling and pulling super tight. And again, I'm going to go through this gold bead. There we go. Try not to twist my thread. And see, it tightened up quite nicely once we were able to go through a couple more beads. And then I'm going to pass through this pink bead, and I want to be coming out the pink bead for this final row of embellishment, but we are going to knot real quick. If I can get the thread not to go through see, it's coming through that gold bead, and I don't want it to come through the gold bead. Yeah, and came through the gold. And again, we're really, really tight at this point. Or getting there, so you may have to try to bend your work. Okay, fine. I don't want to come through there. There. Got it. All right, so now we are going to pull tight. And to make a knot with this, because the threads are on both sides, I'm going to take my thread and I'm going to basically wrap it around the thread, and I'm just going to tie like basically like a half hitch knot. That's all we need to do there, because we are done on this end. We're not going to be going back through anything, so you can tie a knot there right in front of the